Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of The Fishing Teacher, and really appreciate you guys coming by the channel to spend a little time with me and watch the video. Always appreciate that. And guys, today we're going to be talking about some old school spinnerbait techniques as far as retrieves and just things you can do to generate strikes with a spinnerbait. A spinnerbait is it's so versatile in the way that you can fish it, and spinnerbaits is sort of, they sort of like fell by the wayside a little bit, especially the past 5 years with all the other technologies we have out there in different baits. But under the right conditions, guys, they'll catch fish 12 months out of the year. And I've got quite a few old school, hardcore hogging tips with spinnerbaits I'm going to share with you guys today. I think it might add up to a lot more fish the next time you get out there and throw one. Also, guys, just a quick reminder, we do have our summer Fish the Moment Lake Map breakdowns up on the website right now. If you guys are interested in get one, I'll link my Fish the Moment Lake Map breakdown link in the description of this video. These are great resources, guys, if you want to learn more about your favorite lake or you don't know much about a lake you're going to. It's really going to help you guys get to some good spots and get catching fish right off the bat. So much appreciated there. Okay, guys, spinnerbait fishing, man. This is like I said, these things have been around forever. I think you can see those old ads. There was a spinnerbait called, I think, the Shannon Twin Spin from back in the 1930s. But spinnerbaits has been around forever, and they've always sort of mystified people as far as why bass hit them so good and why they've been around for so long, because they don't look like nothing. I mean, literally, it's blades and a hardware and a wire. It doesn't really look like anything real, but there's something about it, and that's sort of the way bass are in general. There are elements within a lure that trigger some fish to hit or trigger fish to hit where other ones just hardly will never get a bite. That's sort of one of those things we don't understand about fish, what actually causes them to strike a lure. But I can tell you right now, spinnerbait is one of those lures that have stood the test of time, and the bass just really react to him good. So first of all, guys, let's talk a little bit about some old school, hardcore hogging spinnerbait tricks that's going to help you guys generate, more strikes with a spinnerbait. The main thing I want to talk about, guys, is retrieve of the spinnerbait. Spinnerbait retrieve is critical as far as generating the strike, and there's a ton of different retrieves. You can fish a spinnerbait from anywhere on the bottom to literally breaking the surface with it and everything in between. You can slow roll it on the bottom. You can just throw it out there. I'll sort of go through the retrieves here, the ones I use based upon the depth. Like a lot of times, say for example, if I'm fishing a deep grass bed or I'm trying to crawl a spinnerbait along the bottom around some brush piles, I'll just throw it out there, let it hit the bottom, let it go all the way to the bottom, and I just slowly start cranking it in like that. Once in a while, I'll twitch the rod tip a little bit. But when you crank that spinnerbait, as you're cranking it even slow, it's going to rise a little bit. So I'll crank it for maybe 5 or 6 cranks and let it go back to the bottom, trying to keep it really close to the bottom. Now, this is a technique that I use, like I said, a lot of times in the pre-spawn when the water's still a little bit cold and the fish are a little bit deeper. I'll slow roll the spinnerbait on like steeper rocky banks or again over deeper grass beds. Sometime on ledges, like in the summertime of the year. You can fish a drop off or a ledge, like the same place you throw a big worm or crankbait. You can throw the spinnerbait out there, let it hit the bottom, and you can just pump it off the bottom. Just like that, you reel it slow like that and pump it off the bottom. And that spinnerbait will go up like that and fall down on the bottom. That's actually how Robert Hamilton won the Bassmaster Classic in 1992 at Logan Martin Lake. I was in that tournament, and he won it, pumping a spinnerbait off the bottom. Now, the mid-depth levels also are really effective for a spinnerbait. A lot of times, again, in the pre-spawn time of the year, if you're fishing steeper banks or maybe some standing timber out there, you'll throw that spinnerbait down there. And based upon the depth that you think those fish are going to be at, you may let it sink 5, 10, 15 or something like that, and just start reeling it slowly like that, and then twitch it like that with your rod. Just twitch it once in a while, keep reeling it slow, trying to keep it in that mid-depth water column. But those are the 2 least common ways to fish a spinnerbait. The main ways I want to talk about fishing a spinnerbait in terms of old school are fishing it around shallow targets. Now, the target that you fish, it determines how you want to fish a spinnerbait. The spinnerbait is probably most effective when you try to get it close to an object, like when you throw it up next to a laydown log or throw it next to the edge of a tree in the water or next to a rock or some type of object in the water where the fish can ambush it. So one of the things that you want to do when you're throwing a spinnerbait is, like, say you see a stump up in front of you, throw that spinnerbait maybe 10 feet out past the stump and reel it up close to the stump. And as that spinnerbait gets probably 2 or 3 feet from the stump, stop reeling steady like that and start reeling and shaking your rod tip the whole time. You want to keep that rod tip moving while you're reeling that spinnerbait in. You don't ever want it to go straight. So you want that spinnerbait, it's just going to be going like this through the water. And sometimes, that will generate the strike. And other times I'll be reeling it like here, and say here's a stump in the water. I'll be reeling it past like this. Sometimes like that, they'll get it. And other times I'll reel it up to the stump like that, and then I'll just kill it and let it fall next to the stump or whatever piece of cover I'm gonna fish, and they're gonna get it like that. But the main thing is when you're fishing visible targets, never just throw that spinnerbait out and just reel it in. You always wanna be shaking it, almost like a swim jig. My favorite way to fish a spinnerbait by far is burning or ripping a spinnerbait. And what you do like that, you just make a cast out there, and as soon as it hits the water, keep your rod tip high and start reeling fast, just like that. Stop and go fast, super fast, keeping that spinnerbait like an inch or 2 under the water where you can see it. You want to be able to see the blades coming through the water the whole time. This is the funnest way to fish a spinnerbait. It's good, and if you have water visibility of at least 3 feet, it's a really good technique to fish in the fall time of the year, especially if you have smallmouth. And sometimes you can fish it just a couple inches under the surface, and other times you can actually fish it right on the surface, and you can occasionally let the blades break the water, and you'll see it. You'll reel it. You can see like the spinnerbait's creating a wake as you reel it fast, and if you bring it up high enough, the blades will break the surface, and you'll lose contact with it. It'll break it, let it sink back down an inch, and keep it reeling. And that speedy spinnerbait coming through the water like that, in low light conditions, in clear water conditions, is an awesome way to catch them. Especially what you want to look for is water temperatures in the mid 50s to mid 60s in the fall time of the year. That's the best time to do it, especially keying around on any type of shade. That's another thing with the spinnerbait, guys, is always focus on shade with the spinnerbait. You're always going to catch your most fish and the bigger fish throwing a spinnerbait in some type of shade. But the main old school technique I want to share with you guys with that is don't hardly ever reel spinnerbait straight in. Always keep that rod tip moving and vibrate, and keep that spinnerbait going erratic through the water. Definitely it'll generate a lot more strikes for you. So hope it helps out. We'll see you.